Hi everyone, welcome back to our another JavaScript project. And in this JavaScript project, we're going to work with API. Yes, we are going to create this news website using JavaScript API. And with the help of our API, we can fetch articles like this. Okay, let me show you what we're going to create in this JavaScript project. As you can see that this is a news website. On the top, we have a news logo, and in the right side, we have a search bar and a search button. And at the bottom here, you can see that we have 10 blocks. And we are fetching these news articles using our API. And here you can see that all the blocks are different, all the blog titles are different, all the blog images are different, and all the blog description are different as well. If I now click in any one of these blocks, suppose this one, and from here we can read this complete blog. Also, in this JavaScript project, I'm going to teach you how to write functions so that we can pass query, and according to this query, our website will fetch data and show you as an article. Let me show you a quick demo. If I delete the web development and if I search with another query, for an example, LinkedIn, and if I click on this search button, our API will fetch data related to LinkedIn post. And as you can see that we have now 10 different LinkedIn posts fetched by our API. Now let me show you another query. And if I search here by AI, artificial intelligence, and if I click on this search button, and here you can see that it is fetching AI related articles. That's it. Also in this project, I'm going to show you how to make this website responsive for our mobile screen devices. As you can see that if I decrease the screen size, our post is taking the size and weight according to our screen size. And as you can see that we have now our logo and our this search options, and then all the blocks is now in one column. To create a project like this, it is important to have a strong foundation in programming. However, if you are looking for a simple and cost-effective solution, then Brilliant is here. Brilliant is an engaging and interactive online learning platform that offers courses in a variety of subjects, including math, data science, and computer science. They provide a diverse range of courses for learners of all levels. One of their most exciting courses is Thinking in Code, which teaches you how to turn your innovative ideas into reality. Throughout the course, you will learn how to create different applications such as a map navigator and fun gaming projects. This course will guide you through the coding process and equip you with the skills you need to bring your ideas to life. Are you ready to begin your journey? Brilliant is offering a free 30-day trial. Simply visit brilliant.org/tech2etc or click the link in the description. And to sweeten the deal, the first 200 people will receive an impressive 20% discount on Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Dive into the world of learning with Brilliant today. And if you want to create more JavaScript projects like this, then please go to my JavaScript playlist. And here you will find a lot of JavaScript projects that you can build for your resume. I will provide you the link of this playlist in the description. And also, if you guys are new in my channel, then please do subscribe this channel, like this video, and press the bell icon for the future videos. And if you guys have any question about this video, then please let me know in my comment section. That's it guys, let's get started. First of all, you have to create a new folder and then drag that folder inside your favorite code editor. And now inside that folder, you have to create 3 different files. One is index.html, then another one is a style.css, then the last one will be script.js. Now let's close the sidebar for better visibility. And here inside our index.html, we have to simply create a HTML boilerplate like this. And here the title will be News API project. And then we have to link our style sheet Also, we have to link our script file. That's it. Now simply let's create a h1, and here I will write hello JS developers. Save, and then start our live server. And here you can see that we have our hello JS developers. So our live server is working perfectly. Now let's go to our code. And now I'm going to start creating our project. Let's divide the screen. That's it. And first we're going to create the structure of our project. So that's why inside our body, I'm going to create a nav tag. And inside this nav tag, I'm going to create a div. And inside this div tag, I'm going to create our logo. So that's why I will take an anchor tag. And here it will be index.html. And the logo name will be news dot. And then I will create another div tag. And this div tag will be for our this search options. We have a search field and a search button. So that's why inside our this div, I'm going to first add a class name. So the class name will be search container. And inside this div tag, first of all, I'm going to create the input area. So that's why we have to use input. Type will be text. Then we need to add a placeholder. And the placeholder will be search news here. Also, I'm going to add an ID. And the ID name will be search input. Now save. And if I go to our website, here you can see that we have our news and our search field. After our search field, I'm going to create a button. And I will add an ID. And the ID name will be search button. And the button name will be search. Now save. And here you can see that we have our search button. Okay, so after creating our navbar, we have to style our navbar. So for styling the navbar, let's go to our style sheet. First of all, I'm going to write some styling presets. And it will be padding 0, then margin 0, then box sizing will be border box. Now save. And right now here you can see that we don't have any margin or padding inside our website. After this one, let's target our body. And here I will use position relative. That's it. And here you can see that right now our logo and our this search field is now in one column, but I want them in one row. And for this, if I go to our index.html file, and here inside our this div tag, I will add a class name. So the class name will be navbar. Now save. And take this navbar class name, then go inside our style sheet and then paste it here. Since I want our these two to be in one row, that's why I'm going to use display flex, justify content, and it will be a space between, then align items center. Also, I'm going to add some padding from top and bottom. From top and bottom, the padding will be 1.3 rem, and from left and right, it will be 0. Now if I save, and here you can see that we have now padding from top and bottom, and our these two object is now in one row. Now I want some background color of our this navbar. So that's why I will take our nav tag from our here. And then here I'm going to add some background color. So the background color will be this one. Now save. And here you can see that we have now our background color. And now I want some box shadow underneath of our background. So that's why let's add box, not sizing, box shadow. And this one will be 0 pixel from X, 7 pixel from Y, 10 pixel will be depth of our shadow. And I need to add a RGBA color. So this one will be 0, 0, 0 and 0.3. Now save. And here you can see that we have a beautiful box shadow underneath of our navbar. Now after this one, I want to change the color of our logo. So that's why take our this Navbar class and then paste it here. Then go to our index, and from here I will simply add a class name inside our anchor tag here. Let's add a class name. So the class name will be logo. Now save, and take this logo class name and then paste it here. First of all, I will change the color. So the color will be white. Also, I don't want any underline. So that's why I will use text decoration, and it will be none as well. Then I will use letter spacing, and it will be 2 pixels. Then I will use font size, and it will be 2.2 rem. Now save, and here you can see that we have our news logo. Let me decrease the size of our website a little bit. That's it. Now after our logo, let's start styling our this search option. So that's why let's go to our index. Okay, so here you can see that we have a div tag, and inside this div tag we have two elements. One is our input field and one is our button. First I want to style our this input section, so that's why take this ID and then paste it here. First of all, I will add a max width, and it will be 400 pixels. Then I want to add some padding. Padding from top and bottom, it will be 10 pixels. From left and right, it will be 20 pixels. Then I don't want any border around it, so that's why border will be none. Then I want a border radius, and it will be 5 pixels. Then the font size, I want to change the font size, and it will be 18 pixels. Then I will change the color as well. So the color will be this one. Now save. And here you can see that we have our search option. Now after this one, I want to style our this button as well. So that's why let's go to our index. And from here, let's take our this button ID and then paste it here. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some padding. And the padding from top and bottom will be 10 pixels. 20 pixels will be from left and right. Then I want to add a background color. So the background color will be this one. Now save. That's it. And now I want to change the text color. So text color will be white, and I don't want any border. So that's why border will be none. Let's change the font size as well, and it will be 18 pixels. Then I will use cursor pointer. Then border radius will be 5 pixels. Now save. And here you can see that we have our button as well. Now this search field and our this button is too close to each other. So that's why I want to add some margin left of our this button. And it will be 10 pixels. Now save. And here you can see that now we have some spacing in between of our these two fields. So yeah, this is our Navbar. So after creating our Navbar, now we have to create our this article cards. And here you can see that we have a couple of cards, and inside these cards we have article image, article title, and our article description. So now I'm going to start creating our these fields. So that's why let's go to our HTML, and underneath of our nav, I'm going to create a main tag. And if you want, you can use a section tag as well, but I will go with main tag. And here inside our main tag, I'm going to add an ID, and the ID will be block container. Okay, so inside our this main tag, I will just start creating our these cards one by one. And let's start creating the first card. That's why I'm going to create a div tag. And here I'm going to add a class name, and the class name will be block card. And here first I'm going to insert an image. So for now I'm going to use a dummy image. That's why you can simply go to Google and search for dummy images. So you can choose any one from here. or you can just search for placeholder images and click the first link, and here you will find a lot of images. So you just need to simply copy this URL and then paste it inside our source. Now save, and if I go to our website, here you can see that we have our image. Now I want to create a S2 for our blog title, and for now it will be this is a title. After this one, I'm going to create a paragraph tag, our article description, and for now it will be lorem 20. That's it. Now save, and here you can see that we have our image, our title, and our this text. Okay. Now I'm going to simply copy this one and then paste it 3-4 times, and here you can see that we have now a couple of cards. Now I will start styling our this blog cards. So that's why from here, let's take our this ID blog container and then go to our style sheet, paste the ID. First of all, I'm going to take some spacing from top and bottom. Here you can see that on the top of our this main section, we do not have any space, and at the bottom as well. So first of all, I'm going to take some margin for a space, and the margin from top and bottom, it will be 3 rem. From left and right, it will be 0. That's it. Now we have some spacing on the top. Now I want to show you one more thing. If I increase the size of our window, here you can see that our element of this website is taking actually complete a space of our window, but it shouldn't take the complete space because it will look bad in different screen size devices. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix a width for our website, and I want our website to be always take that specific width in all the browsers. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply go to our style sheet, and under our body, I'm going to create a global CSS. So that's why let's comment out first, and it will be global CSS. Let's comment it out, and here I will simply create a class. So the class name will be object width. That's it. And inside this class name, I'm going to define my width. So here I'm going to add max width, and it will be 1200 pixel. Then I will use margin auto. That's it. So now this is a global CSS, and I can use this class. I can use this global class inside of our index.html elements. And if I use this class inside an element, then that element will take the space 1200 pixel. So let me show you guys. If I go to my navbar, here you can see that I have a div, and here I have already a class name. So I will simply create our global CSS class name, which is object width. And if I show you, here you can see that right now our this navbar is taking the complete space of our website, of our window. But if I save this class name, and here you can see that boom, now our this section, our this particular nav section is now taking 1200 pixel of our window. So it will take the 1200 pixel pretty much on all kind of windows. So after our navbar, I want to use this class name inside our this main section as well. So here I'm going to add a class name, and I will simply paste the object width. Okay, now save, and if I go to our website, okay, so our global CSS is not working for our this particular element. Let me go to my style sheet and let me see what I have done. Okay, so here you can see that for our blog container, I have added margin 3 rem from top and bottom, but here in our global CSS, I have added margin auto. So this margin auto is not actually overriding our this container margin. So that's why instead of margin, here I have to add padding. Now if I save, and if I go to our website, and boom, now here you can see that our this section is now taking the specific width, which is 1200 pixel. Okay, so after our width, now here you can see that our these cards is now in one column, but I want them in one row. So that's why I'm going to use display flex. Also, I'm going to use justify content, and it will be flex start. Then I'm going to use align items, will be flex start as well. Now save, and here you can see that now our all the cards is now in one row, but because we are using display flex, this element is now forced to take the row. So that's why what I'm going to do, I'm going to use flex wrap. Now save. Okay, you can't see the flex wrap right now, so I will simply comment this one. That's it. I will show you the work of flex wrap later. So after our block container, what I have to do is I have to take our this block card class name from here and then paste it here. First I have to set a width, and the width will be 280 pixel. Then I want a border around it, so it will be 1 pixel solid, and the color will be this one. Then I want a border radius of 10 pixel, and then cursor will be pointer. Now save, and here you can see that our this card is now taking 280 pixel, but right now our images is not responsive, so we have to make these images responsive. So that's why I will simply copy this block card and then paste it here. Then I will target the image tag, and here I will use width of 100%. Then I will use the height of 280 pixel. Then I will use object fit, and it will be cover. Now save, and here you can see that our images is now taking the size of our card. And now I think I can show you the work of flex wrap. So I will simply uncomment this one, and if I now save, and here you can see that after using the flex wrap, our all the card is now taking the width of this 280 pixel. Okay, now after this one, what I want to do is I want to add some spacing inside our this card around our card. So that's why in our block card I will simply use a padding, and the padding will be 1 rem from everywhere. Now after this one, I want to add some spacing around our this card, because all the card is now too close to each other. So that's why I'm going to add some margin, and the margin from everywhere it will be 10 pixel. So yeah, that's it. So after this one, now what I want to do is I want to add some hover effect on our this card. So that's why I will simply copy this class name and then paste it here. Then I will use hover, and if I hover over it, I want to add a box shadow. So that's why let's add box shadow, and for the box shadow, X value will be 4 pixel, then Y value will be 4 pixel, then the depth will be 10 pixel. Then I want to add a RGB color, and this one will be 0.1, and save. And if I now hover here, you can see that we have some box shadow underneath of our cards. So after this one, what I want to do is I want to add some border radius for our image, and the border radius will be 5 pixel. Then I want to add some spacing underneath of our image. So that's why let's add a margin bottom, and it will be 1 rem. Now save. Yeah, that's it. So after this one, let's target our H2 for our heading, for our block title. So for our H2, first of all, I will use a color, text color, and the color will be this one. Then I want to add a font size, and the font size will be 1.7 rem. Then I want a font width of 500. Now save. That's it. After this one, I want to target our paragraph as well. So that's why paste it here again, and this one will be paragraph. And for the paragraph, I don't want to change the color, and I don't want to add any font width. but the font size will be 1.2 rem, and I want to add some padding from the top. That's why it will be 0.7 rem. Now save. And here you can see that we have our images, we have our title, and we have our text as well. So after this one, now what I want to do is I want to make this website responsive. So for making our website responsive, I will pick a particular midpoint of our website. You can always choose yours. But for me, for this website, what I want to do is I will use media. And here I will use max width. And I will use 500 pixel. That's it. So for the media query, I will simply make this one a little bit bigger. If I inspect the website, then it will be easier for you to understand. Right now, here you can see that our website is looking like this in a small screen device. So we have to fix this one. First, we have to fix this navbar. So for fixing the navbar, let's click on this icon, this arrow icon, and then hover over our navbar, not in the element of our navbar, but on the complete navbar, okay? And then here you can see that we have all the properties inside our navbar class, okay? And if I go inside this navbar, it is also showing the selected property, which is our navbar, okay? And if I open this navbar, here you can see that we have a class, we have a logo class name. I will simply click on this, and here we have all the properties for our logo. So for our small screen device, I will simply change the font size. So that's why I will simply copy this rule from here and then paste it here, okay? And since I only want to change the font size, so that's why I will simply delete rest of them, because I don't want to change them, but I want to change the font size of this logo, and the font size will be 1.8 rem. Also, I want to change the width of this search area. That's why I will again go and select this search area, and here you can see that we have our stylings for this input section. And from here, I will simply copy the rules and then paste it here again. And from here, I will simply change the width and padding. So that's why I will simply remove the rest of the stylings. So here I will use width, and the width will be 150 pixel. Then I will change the padding from left and right, and it will be 10 pixel as well. Now save. And here you can see that they are now in one row. But now here you can see that this logo and this section is not have any space from the left and right. So that's why I will simply select the nav tag, and copy the rules from here, and I will add it on the top. Since I don't want to change anything from here, instead I will add a padding. Padding from top and bottom will be 0, but from left and right it will be 20 pixel. Now save, and here you can see that we have now spacing from the left and right. After this one, I want to change the width of this card. So that's why simply take the card, and here you will find all the stylings for this card. I will simply copy the card and then paste it here. Since I want to change only the width property, so that's why I will delete the rest of them, and here it will be with 100%. Now save, and here you can see that this card is now taking 100% of our width. So that is it. Now here you can see that we have successfully created our UI for our JavaScript project using HTML and CSS. Now after our UI, we have to work on our JavaScript so that we can work with our API. So for getting an API, what you have to do, you have to simply go to News API and simply click the first link, which is News API. And getting an API is pretty straightforward inside this website. Here you just have to click on this Get API key, and then you have to create an account. If you have already an account, then well done, congratulations. You just have to get your API key. So what I will do, I will simply log in into my account. Now after login into your account, you will find an interface like this. Here you will find an API key. So I will simply copy this API key and then go inside our script.js file. First of all, we have to store our API key inside a variable. So that's why let's take const and the variable name will be API key. That's it. Now after taking our API key, what we have to do? We have to use this API key for fetching data from inside our this news API. Okay. So for doing that, let's go to their homepage. And here you will find some examples. And here you will find some information like all articles about Tesla. And if I go there, here you will find top business headlines. And here you will find some TechCrunch headlines. And here all the articles published by this journal. Okay. So these are all different API and you can simply use any one of them. They are all pretty much same. Okay. But I will show you two different API keys from here. How you can get working these API keys and how you can fetch data from these API keys. Okay. But before we do that, what do you have to do? We have to create a structure of our card, this card inside our JavaScript file. So for doing that, if I go inside our index.html file, here you can see that we have a main section. And inside this main section, we have our all the cards. And we're going to do all the works pretty much inside our this main tag. So that's why let's take our this ID name from here and then store this ID name inside a variable. So it will be const block container. And here we have to use document.get element by ID. Remember, you have to select get element by ID because this is an ID. And we have to store our block container ID here. Okay. Now after our block container, suppose a user is visiting our website for the first time and I don't want to show him or her a blank page. Okay. I want to show him some already prefetched data. So that's why we have to simply create a function. Let's create a function. And the function name will be fetch random news. And here inside our function, we are going to use try and catch because it is very helpful when you are using API. Sometimes our function can pull data from API, sometimes it can't. So that's why we have to use try and catch. Okay. So that's why let's create a try. And then also a catch. So inside our try, first of all, we have to fetch the data. But in case if our API or this function is not able to fetch data using try, then we have to throw an error. Okay. So we have to throw this error inside our catch. So here we have to, that's why, pass an error parameter. That's it. And here what we have to do, we have to pass console.error. And I want an error message like error fetching random news. And this one will be an error. Okay. And after throwing the error, I want to show an empty array. So that's why return empty array. Okay. Because our try will actually fetch some arrays. But in case if our try cannot fetch an arrays, then we will simply show an empty array inside our catch. Okay. Now let's go inside our try. And here what we have to do is for fetching the data from our API, we have to create some URLs, okay? And through these URLs, we're going to fetch data. And here you can see an example of URL. And I know this URL is looking so complex, but it is not. I will show you in a bit, okay? So here you can see that we have some URL then we have some sources, then we have some API key. So this URL has three parts. One is this URL, then we have a source, then we have a API. So we have to create a URL similar to like this for fetching data, okay, for fetching random data. That's why what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a URL. So for creating and storing that URL, I'm going to take a variable here. First, I want to store that URL, so that's why we have to create a variable. And the variable name would be API URL. And one more thing we have to remember, this is basically a static URL. This will only show data related to this keyword. So that's why we have to make this URL dynamic. Okay, since we are creating this function for random, we don't need any queries. I will simply take a simple this URL. Here you can see that we have another URL. This is for top business headlines. And here I will add a backtick because we will make this URL dynamic. So that's why we have to use backtick. I will simply take this much of URL and then paste it here. Then I need a parameter here, and the parameter name is page size. If you go to their documentation, you will find a lot of parameters like this. If you go inside the endpoint, here you can see that we have a lot of parameters, and they have description for those parameters as well. You can read them out and add these parameters according to your need. Okay, so let me go to the home page again, and let's find out the top headlines for US. Okay, so I have taken the URLs, this URL. After this one, I want to take a parameter. So for using a parameter, first of all, we have to take a end, and then the parameter name, which is page size, and this one will be 10. Okay, so what is this page size mean? It is means inside this URL, there can be hundreds of thousands of data, but I don't want all of them data to fetch into my website, okay? I want to show only 10 of them. So that's why the page size is 10. After this page size, then I'm going to add my API key. And again, API key is a parameter. So that's why we have to use end, and then we have to use API key. And then now here I'm going to use my own API key. So that's why let's add a $sign and curly braces. And here I will simply pass this variable API key. Now we have to fetch this URL. So for fetching this URL, let's use await, because this function will contain a lot of data, and sometimes the server can be slow and they can make some delays to give you the data. So that's why I'm going to use await and fetch the API URL. And I want to store this fetch API URL inside a variable. So that's why let's take a const, and the variable name will be response. And here we have an error, and it is saying that if you are using await, then you have to make your function async. So that's why I'll simply quick fix and click on this async, and they will simply add async before our function. Okay. So after fetching our response, now what do we have to do? We have to convert our response into a JSON format. Okay. So that's why let's take another variable, and I will save this JSON format inside a variable called data. And here let's add await again and response.json. Okay, now if you want to see what we are getting from our this API URL, let's add a console log of our data. Now save, and if I go to our website, and if I inspect the website, inside our console, okay, right now we can't see anything because we have to actually initiate this function. That's why let's create a async, and then I will create an arrow function. And here I'm going to again use try catch. So in our try, first of all, we're going to use this function, which is fetch random news. So that's why we have to use await. our function, and inside our catch we have to pass an error. In case if there is any difficulties, then it will throw us an error. So the error will be like this: error fetching random news. Now save. Okay, let's store this thing inside a variable, and it will be const articles, and then console.log articles. Okay guys, that's it. Right now we don't have any error inside our console. That is fine. So after this random news, what I want to do is I want to show this random news inside our this cards. Okay, so for showing the data we have to return something. So the return will be data dot articles. That's it. And also inside our this function, what we have to do is we have to pass our articles inside a function, and the function name will be display blocks. Now we have to create our this display block function. That's why let's create a function display blocks and open that function. And here inside we have to pass our articles. That's it. Now what we have to do is this function will generate actually our cards. And also we have to do one more thing. If the website is showing some previously fetched data inside our website, then first of all we want to remove them. And after removing them, I will simply replace them with the newest one. So for removing them, first of all, what we have to do, we have to simply take our this block container constant variable and then add it here. Then we have to use inner HTML, and the inner HTML will be empty. Okay. So after doing this, we have to create block card, our news card one by one. So that's why we have to use for each. Okay. So first let's take our articles and use for each function. And inside this for each function, we have to pass article and then let's create a arrow function. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to create the elements one by one. If I go to my index.html, here you can see that. So this is a card, and for this card, first of all, we have to create a div tag. So that's why let's create that div tag inside our script.js. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply view the source, and if I here you can see that this is a div tag. Okay, this is a card. Now we have to create this div tag, exactly this div tag inside our this article for each function. So let's create some elements. First of all, I want to create our this div tag. So that's why let's take a variable, and I will store that div tag inside a variable. So the variable name will be block card. Then we have to use document dot create element, and then what I have to create a div tag. Okay, so after creating our div tag, I want to add our this class name block card inside our this div tag. So for adding this class name using JavaScript, first of all we have to take our block card, then we have to use class list, then we have to add a class list. So that's why we have to use add. Okay, then paste the class name. Now after creating our div tag, we have to create our this image. So for creating that image, first of all we have to store that image somewhere. So that's why let's take a variable image. Then we have to use document dot create element, and here the element name would be image. Also this image is actually have two property, one is source and one is alt. So we have to create those two properties as well. So that's why let's take image dot source and from where I will get the source of our image. I will get the source of our image from our article, okay, from our this article. So that's why let's mention our article dot URL to image. So this is basically a property from inside our this news API. If you go inside the documentation and search by URL to image, you will find this property. Okay, so that's it, URL to image. Then also we have to target our image.alt. So for getting the alt, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use again article dot title. So I'm going to use the title of as an alt of image. That's it. Now after our image, we have to create a h2. So let's save the h2 inside a variable and it will be title. Let's create document dot create element and let's create a h2 and we have to pass that title inside a text content and this one will be article dot title. That's it. After our title, we have to create our paragraph for our description. So that's why let's take a variable and it will be description. Then we have to create an element. So that's why document dot create element and it will be paragraph. Also, we have to pass this description, which is text content, equal to article dot description. Now here you can see that we have successfully created our all the components. Now after creating the components, we have to append those components, those created components inside our this main tag. So for doing that, what you have to do, first of all, you have to take our block card dot append child. First of all, we have to append our image. So I will simply copy this one and then paste it to more time because we have created a title. Also, we have created a description. That's it. And then now we have to append this block card inside our block container. Okay. So that's why let's take our block container, then append child. What we have to append? We have to append our block card. Now save. And if I go to our website, right now it is not showing anything. If I go to our index and if I simply comment out all the cards and then save. And if I inspect the website, let me see. Nothing is showing inside our this console. Okay, so here we have did one thing wrong. Actually, this complete async function will be inside a function itself. And then we have to call that function. Now save. Okay, now here you can see that we have an error and it is saying that API key is not defined. Okay, let's go here. And I think we have did something wrong. That's it. So you have to remember one thing, this API key variable and our this should be always same. Remember the character capitalization. This one and this one should be always same. Okay. Don't do anything wrong inside our this API key. So here you can see that right now it is showing us some random blocks and this random blocks is now actually looking very good. Here you can see that if I simply decrease a bit, that's it. So this is the blocks and we have now different images for our blocks, a different title and then different description. So this is looking so good, guys. Here in our website, it is showing only 10 blocks because we have defined page size, which is 10. Okay, because of this parameter, because of this object 10, page size 10, we are now showing 10 blocks. Okay, if you increase the size, let's say 20, it will show 20 blocks. Okay, but I think 10 block is enough. So 10 block is now showing here. Okay, now what I can do, here you can see that this title is actually not looking good. Some of this title is small, some of the title is large. So what I want to do is, after certain title, I want to add some dot dot dot. Okay, truncate text. Okay, so I want to do this. So for doing that, go inside our title, and here what I'm going to do is, I will simply remove this one, remove this line text content, and instead here I will write a if else function. So let's take a variable first, and it will be const, and the variable name will be truncated title. And here I will simply write a if else function. If our article title length is greater than 30, then I want to write a condition. If not, then I want to write another condition. So first let's write the first condition. So if our article length is greater than 30, I mean 30 character, then what I have to do, I have to slice the article title. So that's why it will be article.title.slice, and I want to keep only 0 to 30 characters. And after that, if the title is having more than 30 characters, I want to show the first 30 characters, and after that I want to show some dot 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 like this. Okay, so we have done one condition. Now let's move on to our next condition. If the article title character is less than 30, so that's why I want to keep that, and that's why it will be title. Now save. Okay, our article is gone. Okay, now what we have to do is, we have to pass that newly created variable inside our block card. So that's why we have to use title dot text content, and it will be truncated title. Now save, and that's it, guys. Here you can see that our title is now having only 30 characters, and if the article is having more than 30 characters, we can see some dot dot dot. And also, if you want to do the same with this description, you can also do that, but I will show you how to do that. So for doing that, what you have to do, I will simply copy this created function and then paste it here. So here it will be truncated description, des, that's it. If the article, not title, it will be if the article description. Okay, if the article description length is having 30, not 30, we need to show a little bit of more characters for the description. So that's why it will be 120 characters. So if the article description is having more than 120 characters, then I want to slice the article description. So slice it to 120. Okay, and after 120 characters, I want to add this dot dot dot. And if our article dot description is not having more than 120 characters, then I want to simply show the original description. Okay, so now we have to simply pass this truncated description inside here. That's it. Now save, and here you can see that our card description is now having 120 characters. If it is less than 120 characters, then we are not truncating our description, but if the description is more than 120 characters, then we are using this dot 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 truncated description. Okay, Okay, now what I want to do is, if someone wants to read these blocks and they click one of our cards, then what I want to do is I want to open that block in a new window. So for doing that, what you have to do is, so here we have a block card, okay, and this block card is actually representing our this complete card. So what I want to do is, let's take our block card, and if anyone clicks on the block card, which will be an event listener, so that's why we have to add event listener, and the event listener name will be click. If anyone click one of our card, then I want to create a function, an arrow function, and what it will do is it will simply create a new window, and inside our new window we are going to need a URL to read that block. So that's why let's take our article dot URL. That's it. Since I want to create a new window, what we have to do is we have to pass one more parameter, which is blank. And if I now click on one of these article, that article should open in a new window. Let me see if I click on this article, and yeah, it is now showing inside a different window. So this is the article you can read, okay? So we can simply click on any one of this card, and it will simply open that block in a new window. So that's it. I think we have done with our this random fast articles. Now, if anyone wants to search an article based on their query, that's why we have to create a function for our this search field also. So first we need to take the value from here. Okay, so that's why we have to target our this input field. Let's go to the top, and here let's create a variable, and the variable name will be search field, and this search field will target our this ID. Here you can see that if I go to my nav, here we have our input section and we have a search input ID. So we have to simply pass that ID here. So after that ID, we have to simply take our this button also, because if anyone click on that button, then I want to show the data, not before, okay? So I will simply copy this and then paste it here, and this one will be search button, and the ID name will be search button also, if I'm not wrong. If I go to my index, here you can see that we have ID search button. So that's it. Okay, so now what we have to do is, first of all, we have to take the user input from here. So that's why I will simply take this ID of our this button, and I think we have search button, and I will simply paste it here, search button dot add event listener, because if anyone click on that button, then only I want to take the data from inside our input section. Okay, so that's why we have to use add event listener, and the event listener name will be click. Then I want to create a function. Now what I want to do is, if anyone clicks on the search button, then I want to take the value from our this input, and after taking the input value, I want to store that value inside a variable. So that's why let's create a variable const query, and I will take the query from our search button, not search button, search field, as a value. Then I will use stream function. Okay, so now we have to think of two conditions. If anyone click on the search button, then here we can find some value, or sometimes the field can be empty also. So that's why if the field is empty, we have to create a if function. So if the query is not equal to empty, then I want to fetch data. Okay, so that's why for fetching data we have to use try and catch again. And here I will simply pass the error inside our catch, and here I will simply console log the error name, error fetching news by query. Previously it was error fetching random news, and then now it is error fetching news by query. So if some error happens inside our website, then we can at least identify which error we are getting. Is it is error fetching random news, or is it is error fetching news by query? In this way, we can simply identify the error and from which way the error is coming. Okay, and here we have to pass error. That's it. And now inside our try, what we have to do, we have to simply fetch the data according to our query. So that's why I will simply store that fetched data inside a variable, and it will be articles. And again, when we are fetching data, it can take some time. So that's why we are going to use await. And here we are going to create a function, and it will be fetch news query. And here inside this function, we are going to pass query. And as I told you earlier, if we are using await, then we have to convert our function into an async function. I will simply click on this and the quick fix and then add async. So it will simply add a async before our function. Okay. So after our query, let's call our display blocks. And inside our display blocks, I want to show the articles, our fetched articles, these articles. Okay. Now we have to create out this function. For creating this function, let's create function. And here we have to pass one thing. We have to pass query, because this function is all about query. Okay. Again, we have to use try and fetch method. I will simply copy this fetch random news, not this complete function. I will simply copy this try and catch of this function and then paste it here. Here you can see that we have API, and in this API we have to push our query. So that's why if I go to this news API website, and here you can see that we have a card which is all articles about Tesla, and here we have a keyword which is everything. So I need this keyword, okay, because I want to fetch data from everything. Okay, so that's why what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply copy this much of our URL and then paste it here. And here you can see that after Q we have a keyword Tesla. So we have to make this dynamic. Okay, this can be any query. So that's why after Q equal to, we have to take a $sign and curly braces, and here we have to pass query, and the page size will be 10 because I want to show only 10 blocks, and the API key will be our previously saved API key. And here we are fetching our API URL, and since we are using await, we have to make our function async. That's it. And after fetching our API URL, we are simply converting them into our JSON format, and then we are simply returning the articles. Now save, and if I go to our website, here you can see that we already have some pre-fetched data. Now let's search something by web development, and if I click on this search button, then this search button add event listener will activate, and this will call this fetch news query, which is this function. And this function will simply fetch the data from our this URL. And after fetching the data, it will simply convert them into a JSON format. And we will see those JSON format in a format of articles. Okay. Now if I click on this search button, it should give us something. Let's inspect the website. And here we have two errors, and it is saying that cannot read properties null. Okay. So we have used a trim here inside our query. Okay. So this will only be value. That's it. Only value. Okay. Now save. And if I search something here, web development, and if I now click on the search button, yes, now here you can see that we have some blocks related to web development. See guys, that is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Now let's search by another term, Elon Musk. And if I now click on search button, and it will show some news related to Elon Musk. See, this is so amazing, so amazing. Search by technology, and then search. And here you can see that our website is fetching the articles through API. And now we can see all the articles in our website. So that's it guys. I hope you guys learned a lot from this project. And if you guys want more JavaScript project like this, then please do let me know in my comment section. Also, if you guys are new in my channel, then please do subscribe this channel, like this video, and press the bell icon for the future videos. And if you guys have any question about this video, then please do let me know in my comment section. That's it. See you guys in our another project.